Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! Today we are test driving a beat down 2006 Range Rover Supercharged. This is the full-size Range Rover L322 chassis. 06 was the first year that it was available with the 400 horsepower supercharged 4.2-liter Jaguar V8. And that's what this one has. And this car has many flaws, as you would expect a Range Rover with 167,000 miles to have. First and foremost, from my perspective right now, the air conditioner does not work. So I'm a little bit warm in here. It says that it wants to check the brake pads, or that says that I should check the brake pads. But it stops okay. I have a tire pressure monitoring light on. I don't really care enough to try to rectify that. The tires seem to be round for the most part. And one of the side cornering lights apparently is out, according to the information when I first start the vehicle. But other than that, seems to ride pretty well. Transmission shifts smooth. The air suspension still works. It does have a leak in the front, so if you leave it parked for maybe 20 minutes, it kind of starts sagging in the front, but as soon as you start it, she pumps right back up. So air suspension still functional. Supercharged V8 still putting out, I'd say, the majority of the 400 horses that it first had. You can still hear that supercharger whine. Are you gonna shift? There we go. And I have some sort of a buzz coming from the dash. Oh, that tippy feel of an L322 Range Rover. I love driving these things. I love this car because, well, for a number of reasons. The interior and the exterior are both beautiful and timeless to me. And the other thing I love about it is that this thing was only ever designed to be a Range Rover. They never built anything else off of this chassis. BMW actually owned the Rover Group while this was designed, and you can see a lot of BMW in here if you know what you're looking at. But they never used it for anything else. This was only ever a full-size Range Rover. And for all of its flaws, I think it's better for it. The handling kind of isn't very good. It's tippy. It's a big, tall Range Rover. What'd you expect? The ride is super duper smooth. Even on this one, which is like an old beat down one, it still composes itself in a smooth way over the road. I've always loved the interior in these. I'll post a link to the full review that I'm gonna do so you can get a closer look at it. But all the switches are bespoke. This was the only car that had them. BMW allegedly was planning on building something. They were going to call it the X7. Obviously, they make an X7 now that they developed a decade and a half after this car was developed. Longer, 20 years maybe. So there was a rumor that BMW was going to develop their own vehicle with this chassis, but they sold Land Rover probably before this car hit the street, but enough of it was already done that it was part of the deal. So Ford built this thing technically, which is how it got a Jaguar V8 in it. And the sad thing is, the early L322s had the 4.4-liter 282 horse BMW engine. When they put the Jaguar V8s in, they got more reliable. That's how bad those BMW engines were in this car. They weren't necessarily bad engines. They were just very overmatched in the Range Rover for the kind of load that was put on them based on the weight and the aerodynamics of the vehicle. Yeah, it just didn't work out well. So this car lasted longer with a Jag V8, even the supercharged one. So what does that tell you? This is one of my favorite cars ever. Maybe not this exact example, but the L322 Range Rover It's sad that at this point they're all at least 12 years old, and yes, reliability is a major concern with one of these things. It would be interesting to do one of those old Top Gear like challenges with this one and like put new all-terrain tires on it and just leave it as is and take it out and see how far you could get off-road. And it would probably break, and then you'd have to leave it where it was. But it might make it further than you'd think. I wonder if the low range still works. Now, I'm not going to put it in low range. I love the way this one has the kind of piano black trim, which it's better with wood, but how it all matches. You have these like pillars of trim on the inside of the vehicle. Oh, fantastic. Range Rover. The best 4x4 by far. This thing was probably like I think it was about a $95,000 car when it was brand new in 2006. Worth every penny. Look, it's still going with 167,000 miles on it. It only needs an air conditioner fixed, some brake pads. It's getting 12 miles a gallon according to it, which honestly might be a little optimistic. That Mini Cooper ran that light hard. I'd throw him under the bus and read out his license plate number, but I guess I don't care that much. I'm in a range, I'm relaxed, even though I'm kind of sweaty because the air conditioner doesn't work and I have the windows up for less wind noise. Oh, I love the way that they squat under acceleration. Land Rover actually left that in on purpose. They could have tuned that out with the air suspension. They could have stiffened up the rear shocks under acceleration to make it more flat, but they left that in because people like how it feels. They like the squat. This thing definitely needs brake pads. These things needed brake pads pretty much every 15,000 miles, 20,000 maybe, if you drove very, very gently. And if you had it done at a dealer, it was a good $1,000 because they did put Brembos on the Superchargers. You know, that was part of the appeal. Part of the appeal for Range Rover drivers. People know you got the wedge to keep it running. Ooh, I love that Supercharger whine. Fantastic. Honestly, this thing's, I mean, my temperature gauge is steady. I don't have a check engine light on. Feels good. You know, there might be some life in this old thing yet, although I'm not. This was a recent trade-in at a car dealership that I have a connection with, and they're kind enough to let me drive their vehicles occasionally to review, and this one's going straight to the auction as soon as I'm done with it, but listen to it purr. It's like riding a rodeo bull when you unleash the 400 horses, because you're really not that connected to the road in this with the air suspension. It's very, very floaty, but very satisfying. I'd love to just thrash the hell out of this thing off-road. That might break it, but it would be fun. We have a bee saver right here. I wonder if they like transplant beehives. I would assume so, based on their personalized plate. Okay, there's this weird rough patch of road. Let's see. That is a lot smoother than most cars take that, but probably not as smooth as this thing would have done if it were shiny and new. The air suspension is a bit worn. Like I said, the front is leaking, so... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, the brakes are a problem on this car. I wouldn't want to test them too hard. I don't know. What else can you say? I suppose that's really all I have to say about driving the L322 Supercharged with 167,000 miles on it. I am going to do a full review on it, so I'll put a link to that in the description, and you can check that out at your leisure if you want to. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel, and have yourself a fantastic day. Bye-bye.